This is Inspirational Women, a weekly series shining the spotlight on female trailblazers making a true difference in our community. Once again, here is Kate Daniels.
Renee Leaf is an incredibly courageous, an incredibly brilliant, and incredibly beautiful woman. There is no real order to that. And that's not even a list of who this woman is, whom I've only met briefly, but who makes a lasting impact. I feel Renee is courageous in speaking out loudly about the cancer diagnosis delivered to her. And in her story, there's wisdom. There's a map for each of us on living our best life. This is my opinion. Meet Renee and see what you think. Renee Leaf, good morning. So great to have you join us this morning.
Good morning.
And you know, we're able to see each other because we're on a Zoom chat. No one else can see you, but I must say, you look radiant and just an inspiration. I know that red lipstick seems to be a thing in your life, so red lipstick all the way around is great.
Thank you. Yes, it's nice to be face to face, and I look forward to having this conversation.
Well, and I look forward to it too, although for me, it feels like this really tough conversation. I have a feeling, though, since you have been living with this diagnosis of metastatic breast cancer for 2 years and 3 months now, I think, it's perhaps something you've adjusted to, but maybe not. How do you look at it?
I think a little over 2 years into the journey, I don't know if I've accepted it for the most part. Some days are harder than others, but it is my life, and I feel like it is my life's purpose to tell, especially young people, my story, and that just because being diagnosed de novo, meaning from the beginning with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer at 37, doesn't mean that your life can't be fulfilling, can't have purpose, can't have meaning, and so. And I struggled with trying to know what my life's purpose was. It's interesting now that I know it is to get my story and my message out so that other families and other family members and friends and others like me don't have to have such a negative connotation when it comes to metastatic breast cancer.
Which is a huge message because of course it can feel, even with not having metastatic, just that whole C word, right? We kind of get that fear instilled in us, and to have that diagnosis at such a young age, at 37, because we don't even think of having breast exams until I think past 40, maybe 45. Right?
Yes, that is correct, and that's what also bringing awareness to that, being self-advocates. I was a self-advocate for myself. I was in the best shape of my life. I had no symptoms. I had just returned on a trip back from Europe. I was running close to 5 or 6 miles a day, working out and lifting 5 days a week. And I found my own lump and had to self-advocate after my primary care physician said it felt normal to keep an eye on it. And the following week, I said, I would like a mammogram and an ultrasound. And having to really push for that, since the radiologist, as soon as I had the ultrasound, said that everything I see here is consistent with cancer. So it was a very quick diagnosis once I was finally seen, which took a long time to even be seen with the healthcare system. I would have liked it to be a little bit sooner, but got in as soon as I could. But yes, pushing for mammograms under 40 and health insurance companies, pushing back on them that when we know something and we want to say something, we need to be heard.
Absolutely. We can't proclaim that loudly and strongly enough to be that self-advocate, to just really push for it. And thank God you did. And thank God you ended up with people who really were listening and just made it happen.
Yes.
And so that is absolutely one of the first strongest messages, is that self-advocacy. Because, and I'm so bad at this, have been so bad at this for a long time, doing breast self-exams. I mean, that's so key. It was important that you did it.
Yes, and I need to bring more awareness to that as well, because I wasn't doing them as regularly. And so there's a lot not having, not remembering to always do them. And, and for some women that is hard to do, and self-image. And I was struggling with that. So I wasn't doing them as often as I should have. And to remind younger women that we do need to do them monthly. It's kind of in our community now, a lot of young women say, the first of every month to do a self breast exam. And then to just be so young, and then to wonder what resources you do have when this is not something that you thought would happen to you. And that's where Susan G. Komen is great, with having resources for all stages, all ages, having other women such as myself that have been going through something to be your kind of companion, or to just have different resources within each, being nationwide, having different resources within each city, and different advocates and resources that women can talk to. Is Komen has been great for that, and for their constant helping bring and fund new drugs. They've brought over 29 new treatments to the market with their funding. So that is how we are staying alive longer.
Yes. And persons like yourself really being willing to put yourself out there, sharing your story, for one, to, not be embarrassed, not be shy, not to just want to hide away from it, but to, again, proclaim it, because it's so prevalent, for one thing, and that it starts at such a younger age.
Yes, we're getting diagnosed younger and younger, and it's more aggressive in younger women. My cancer has been very aggressive over the last 2 years. I've never been declared no evidence of disease. I've been on a clinical trial up until just actually last week. I have progression on my liver. My 2 spots have continued to grow, so they've already out-tricked the trial. After I was doing so well on it, I was just one of 6 in the United States, one of 200 in the world on it, and it was working fabulously up until about 6 weeks ago. And my latest scans showed that the 2 lesions on my liver are progressing. So I'll be starting a new treatment. This will be my 3rd in just 2 years. So there's only still so many treatments, which is why we need to keep funding, keep giving to places, to foundations such as Komen, or here locally. I work very closely in the Seattle area with Northwest Hope and Healing, that works exclusively with breast and gynecological cancer patients being treated at Swedish, which is where I'm being treated here in Seattle. Fabulous team, but we just need to keep advocating, because it is happening to us younger and younger.
Yes. And I did see actually a YouTube video of you at Swedish with your doctor, and talking about the trial. And I guess because it's trial medication, you just don't know. So it's something that just wasn't going to work for you, but there is perhaps a different medication that trial that you'll be doing that will give you just a different path to take.
Yes. So there's, depending on your type of cancer, that's what a lot of women are still not even aware, that there's multiple types of breast cancer. Mine was driven originally by estrogen and progesterone, and is now evolved. Cancer can also evolve. I always want to make that, to let other women know too. A lot of women don't know breast cancer, just like people, my doctor said, evolve over time. And that's why cancer, there is no cure yet, is because we can't figure out how to stop it from evolving. And so it's not so much driven by hormones. And so other women were having success on this phase 1 trial backed by Pfizer. And so I just happened to have the right mix of the type of cancer that I qualified for the trial. But like say with progression now, we know that the cancer has already out-tricked it. It is continuing to work for others around the world. And I do believe Pfizer is pushing to send it to a phase 3, but I was, yes, the guinea pig, the writing down the times I took the medication, any side effects, any symptoms. Clinical trials are so important, and only 7% of women ever actually get on a clinical trial, or cancer patients in general. So it's also fascinating, and that's why we need more women and other cancer patients to participate in clinical trials, because that's how these new drugs come to the market. This next treatment that I'm going to start will hopefully be very beneficial. It's working for a lot of women and a lot of others in my metastatic community. So I hope this is the one that works for a long time. I like to push that also. A lot of people don't know that metastatic breast cancer is not curable. And a lot of times I get asked when my treatment is over, and our treatment is never done. even though our cancer can go to sleep, it is always still in our body until we can find a cure for stage 4. And once we find a cure for stage 4, we find a cure for all breast cancer.
So is it called remission? Will it like kind of go to sleep dormant, be
That's
dormant?
what remission, or a lot of the new wording I've been told is we're no evidence of disease, is like we like to say, NED, or no evidence of active disease.
I see. Okay. See, look at all that we're learning. And, bless you for being so receptive to being the teacher, to being kind of the explorer, the adventurer who's going to, plow through this and try whatever may come this way for yourself, of course, but knowing that you're also helping others along the way.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've always been, as my mother, I've always been a very much a loud mouth. My sister always said she never got a chance to talk because I was always talking. So, yes, it is definitely not something I've ever shied away from. If I'm not going to be, I was never been quiet. So I figured, why be quiet now? Take this diagnosis and show everyone what a great life I am living, even as hard as it is some days. Today is actually kind of a hard day for whatever reason, but I always say you can stay down, you can get down, but you can't stay there. So I'll find a way, which I usually always do, to you pull yourself out of it and you continue on and you look at all the things. I mean, I've been very grateful to have even access to resources such as Komen, to Northwest Hope and Healing, to having a very supportive friend group, a very supportive family, very close family, and then to actually meeting and reconnecting with a high school homecoming date just 6 months ago and being with the love of my life. So you can still even find love when you have stage 4 cancer.
I love it. That is so wonderful. And with so you were saying, that today isn't necessarily a good day, and yet who could tell that? I mean, looking at you, because we are on this video call, you look radiant. You look just so super alive and bright. So I think we can, put forward this persona and walk into it. We don't have to be gloomy and dire. Not that we won't have those days, and we have to acknowledge that, but mostly, as you said, just kind of pull yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, and there's multiple side effects to living with all types and all stages of cancer. But it is a chronic illness. I do have many side effects that you wouldn't be able to see unless you're with me on, my daily life. I actually can't taste anything. I'm waiting to get my taste back from the trial. It was the number one side effect. I've not been able to taste anything since the end of January. And just the menopause. I'm in menopause at 30. I've already had a full hysterectomy because the hormones are what were driving my cancer. And a lot of women are put into a medically induced menopause because of the type of breast cancer. It being estrogen, what is driving our cancers. So we need to put it to sleep. So a lot of women at a young age are then dealing with postmenopausal symptoms of a woman that is in their late 50s, 60s, or going into perimenopause. So bringing awareness to all of that. Either it's not necessarily always the cancer that we're dealing with, it's the side effects to it, and being a woman and having to, I will never be able to have children. I was undecided at the time. And then when you're diagnosed with cancer and they put your ovaries to sleep, that decision is made for you. And you'll never be able to carry children, even if you are surviving. Some women are able to, but having to go different avenues with a partner that you hadn't planned on, and trying to navigate all of those things is really what is sometimes the hardest part of this. The going to treatment and having the plan gives you such peace of mind because there is a plan, and I know what my plan is. But it's all these other unknown things, and Komen has resources for all of those as well. So it's the day to day, and yeah, looking like we're fine and normal people, and for the most part we are. So it is nice to sometimes not tell my story, and people can never guess that I'm living with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis.
Right. Yes. Has there been a history of breast cancer in your family?
My grandmother had inflammatory breast cancer after the age of 70. So no, not at a young age. And 90% of cancers are still environmentally driven. Only 10% are genetic. So that is why it's so important to keep doing our self checks, because most women will tell you it did not run in my family. There are some, there is still, it is prevalent more so. We know that we can detect genes now. I do have one of the BRCA genes is undetermined, but that was figured out after it was too late when I already had cancer. So, but it's helping those such as my sister, who then hers is undetermined as well. So she's having alternating every 6 months between a mammogram and ultrasound, I believe, every 6 months. And she's 35 and has two children. But risk of breast cancer in younger women does go up if you've not breastfed, not had children. And so it is still mostly environmentally driven, not genetically.
So that is definitely a biggie because there's so much in our environment that we certainly question, but it certainly isn't being tamped down. So what have you done differently in terms of that for yourself and that you really suggest for others?
I think that everyone's journey is their own. So I try not to, in the beginning, you're bombarded with, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you cutting this? And I was the healthiest person, not to be vain, but I was the healthiest person that I knew, because of self-image issues that I have dealt with since I was a teenager. So I ate very clean. Besides enjoying wine, I've never smoked. I've never gotten into anything too wild, and so I've always just enjoyed my wine. And I encourage people to pick what is right for them. I have other metastatic friends that have chosen to go vegan or no longer drink or whatever that is to your life, but we all only get one life. And so for me, I still enjoy drinking wine. My doctor's amazing. I feel like we've had very good candid conversations, and I just ask her that too. And it is individualized to each person. And she said, the cat's out of the bag. Go, you need to live your life. And sometimes I've wondered, do I not drink the wine? Do I not eat this? But also my therapist is also, and other friends, we also have to fulfill our social and our souls, and not just always, yes, it might not be best for your physical health, but does it bring me joy? Does it bring me connection with my best friends to have an afternoon of wine tasting? Yes. Is it a memory that I'm making? And that's my family's motto been from the beginning, is to make memories and to do as many things to make memories with the people that are most important to me. And I have a 8-year-old niece and a 5-year-old nephew, and I will always push so that they remember me and that we have plenty of pictures and plenty of adventures together. We've talked about doing, like, pulling from a jar, all of the things that you want to go do. And so and then doing them and making that memory so that they have that. And so I just encourage each individual with any cancer diagnosis, you have to do what's right for you. And that looks different for everyone. So
these are words of wisdom, though, for anyone, for each of us in our lives. Sometimes we maybe can get too complacent, putting it off till tomorrow, yeah. Or I'll do it next year. I'll do it when I retire. You're really grasping life and loving it in the moment.
You have to. It's scary to know and contemplate mortality, but it's also, we're just have been given that, but that doesn't mean that that's your story right now. So it's like, and we all don't know, but to be given that diagnosis is hard. But it also has brought more meaning to my life and more intention. And I notice the details of things, and I don't get hung up on things that now I notice my friends or family get hung up on, because I am just so aware of time. And so I guess that's the gift and the cruelty of cancer, is it makes you so aware of time.
Yes. And I would say that you have kind of embraced it to the extent of taking advantage of it. That kind of embrace, like,
definitely.
okay.
And having, as I say, holding in the same hand hope and realism. And I guess that's what I've always, from the beginning of my diagnosis, just, there is always hope. There will always be hope. I've never lost hope. Some days you just maybe don't have moments of hope, and I try to be realistic and vulnerable in that. Because I think I don't ever want my message to be also that I am happy all the time. So I try to post on my social media the hard days also, or the hard things, or the fact that I am so much weaker. I try to exercise. I tried to lift yesterday. And I'm very weak to, some of the activities that I've really enjoyed doing over the years before cancer are much more difficult or aren't really doable. I have to work a lot harder at them. So I try to also show that side of it, and that it's not just I'm fine all the time and I'm smiling. I mean, I've lost my hair. I've been through 4 rounds of infusion chemo. I've had 2 lumpectomies, 21 rounds of radiation, a full hysterectomy, more biopsies than I can count. And we can do hard things. We can endure hard things. And some days it is hard to do the day, but you keep pushing forward. So,
Oh, you're pushing forward so beautifully, so
thank you.
so vibrantly. But that's what I detect, and I appreciate your saying that. Not every day is like that, which is realistic. None of us has like, oh, this grand perfect day. What is that anyway? I mean,
Yep.
perfect days can be these quiet, relaxing kind of hideaway days. Um,
Yes.
it's just really, like you said, creating the memories. Each time that you're doing something, and in your story you talk about how it's important to you to be this great aunt, to be the best aunt, and that's important for them, and finding your love. I mean, how
Yes.
exciting is that?
It is very exciting. It's something that I wasn't sure I would find. And it is scary when I had been single before my cancer diagnosis, and then to wonder who and how you would meet someone. I know people do, and I know, there are kind, loving people out there that, to have those conversations with my boyfriend right away, and to him already know, but we had also, again, knew each other when we were 14, but had not spoken in 25 years. And so to have to know each other and learn each other, and also him to be so kind and so compassionate and so attentive to me, knowing what he knows, and to being so willing to do all of the hard things, and being willing to have the hard conversations with me right away, and integrating with my family so quickly, because they're coming to appointments, and they were all of my rocks before he was. And so now everybody coming together to be that support system, and it's an amazing, beautiful thing. And you can have a, a horrible diagnosis, and you can also have beauty within that, and it
Oh,
is possible.
yeah, and I'm really feeling that, and having read it in your story, it that came across too. But you're speaking it, just gives it that much more. It solidifies it more, I think, and how. Yes, that cancer can be this dire diagnosis, but you said it so beautifully. It could be so bad, but also there's just this beauty in it that you really begin to cherish life and live it maybe more fully.
Oh, definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I feel like I will have done more in my shorter lifespan than those that have lived for a long time. And so I, try to be grateful for that. I don't ever say though that I will be frank in that some people say cancer then is a great thing that happened to them, and I don't agree with that. But I do know that I, again, live with more intent, and find the beauty in small things and in details, because I know how precious life is.
And the fact that you say there you have found at least a purpose. It isn't necessarily your sole purpose, but you found a purpose in being able to proclaim the self-advocacy, and also just to proclaim, all that's available into living our best life regardless.
Yes, and still not losing the pieces of you that were before. I have my bachelor's in fashion. I dress up to go to the cancer center. The nurses always can't wait to see what I'm wearing, because I'm there to do a job, and that's to kill cancer. And so even wearing a mask, I have my red lipstick. My grandma always had red lipstick on for my grandpa growing up, and that's where I got it from. And I've worn bright red lipstick, or a brighter version, since I was in high school. And I make sure to dress up and wear my lipstick, and it just brings me confidence that we're going there to continue to journey on, with this diagnosis, and that there is hope always. So that's what I push for, and that's I just appreciate Komen letting me tell my story and reaching out to me. We've touched base about a lot of other things, and like I say, and just being able to be a voice for the metastatic community. We need more of us to speak up. We need to show that more of us are living with metastatic breast cancer, and Komen is a great resource to reach out to those of us that are living and thriving with this diagnosis.
And so on the note of Komen, as you had mentioned earlier, they are nationwide, so it's easy to access them wherever we are.
Yes, and at all times of the day, they have, I know, multiple, like I say, resources and places to call or people to reach out to, and then they can connect you with someone even in your local community. So I think that's also what I've tried to do in the Seattle area, is reach out to others. I have a lot of friends nationwide by being fortunate enough to attend other nonprofits conferences with metastatic thrivers such as myself that are younger women, but I'm always looking for others in the Seattle community that would want to come forward or want to connect, because there is something to be said in all women with breast cancer. I try to work with all organizations. I just was at an American Cancer Society with it being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I try to work with as many different organizations as possible, both large like Komen and then locally as well. So, but making those connections with other women in your area is also huge, to be able to actually meet up with someone who's going through the same thing that you are.
Because there's something about sharing our stories and having that sisterhood or that community feeling of you're not alone.
That's what we all just want to know in life in general, that we're not alone.
Yeah.
And a cancer diagnosis at times is still very isolating. It's very, I mean, you still feel alone now, especially in my friend group and everyone living regular lives. And my life has now been, I recently quit my job after always working full time since I was 15, and being so driven and living in Los Angeles and traveling for work in the fashion industry to, it is now my full-time job to go to the cancer center or to have different, procedures, meet with different surgeons for different things. I'll be having a liver procedure coming up so that we can get these lesions off of my liver. So it isn't just chemo. It isn't just going to sit and get an infusion and lose our hair. We do a lot of other things, and we just want to know we're not alone. So having that community, and Komen is a great way to find your community.
Yes. And one other thing then that's really important is these resources through Komen are free.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and like I say, and you can reach out at any time with any stage of breast cancer diagnosis, any type, and they are a great resource for that. And I always encourage to keep giving to them when they are funding so many different trials, so many different research, so much research that hopefully will bring things to the market. And like I say, we've made more strides with breast cancer in the last 10 years than in 30 years combined. And so it's just great that Komen and Susan had a family that wanted to advocate for her and started this so long ago. And that's saved a lot of lives.
Yes, absolutely. And it is saving yours. We know that, and
Yes.
and you're doing what you can to put forth this beautiful face with the red lipstick and to really support us, advocate for ourselves and do what needs to be done, that hard work that needs to be done. Well,
Yes.
Renee Leaf, I do think that you are just so amazing. I so appreciate you. And I wish you just so much healing and support and energy that you need to get your work done, this new work that you're involved in.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and letting me share my story. So if I can make a difference to one other woman, then it's all worth it. So.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for being so courageous. Thank you for being here this morning to meet these wonderful guests, living their best life and inviting us to do the same. Please check this station's website for the podcasts for more information about these guests, and please share the stories with your family and friends. I'm Kate Daniels. If you'd like to connect with me, simply send me an email, katedaniels@hubbardradio.com. Make time for a special connection today.
Thank you for listening to Inspirational Women. Tune in every Sunday morning at this time to hear about those truly empowering the Northwest community, all for the greater good. Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women are a public service of Hubbard Radio Seattle.